Imagine being a college student who sees himself as a failure, someone who believes his own life is bad, and who keeps reliving everything that went wrong during his teenage years because of bad choices and impulsive moments. The regret never disappears, and because of that, there is that constant thought of how good it would be to go back in time and change everything. That is exactly how Natsuki's story begins. A college student who for years has carried the weight of a youth he is not proud of. In a random moment, he was watching a romantic movie he had already seen before. Before, he did not understand why someone would watch the same movie several times, already knowing the ending. But now it made sense. He had nothing better to do, so he decided to watch again the movie he had seen 7 years ago. That brought a strong feeling of nostalgia, since there were many things in that story that he wished he had experienced in real life. While watching, he commented on how the protagonist had the chance to go back in time to win over the girl he liked. It was a very well-known movie, and even though it was just fiction, it ended up making Natsuki reflect. If someone knew what would happen in the future, they could make better decisions and maybe build a perfect life. However, he knew that this only existed in movies, and that, in reality, it was not possible to change the past. For a long time, he tried not to think about it. But deep down, he knew that his life was nothing like what he wanted. He clearly remembered the moment when everything started to go wrong, and that happened in the first year of high school. A classmate even apologized, saying that he could not help him anymore because he was annoying. From that moment on, Natsuki ended up alone. He had tried to be more sociable, but everything went wrong in the worst possible way. If he had to summarize his high school years, he would say they were faded and colorless. Those memories kept bothering him. But over time, he learned from his mistakes. Already in college, he gave up trying to be extroverted and started living more discreetly, avoiding drawing attention so as not to have problems. He managed to get the resources needed to continue studying and planned to graduate and secure a job in an infrastructure company. Everything seemed to be heading toward a normal life, with a normal graduation, a stable job, and a predictable routine. He believed he could be happy like that. But he knew that the regret from his teenage years would always follow him. He never had the lively youth he wanted, and knew he would not have another chance. There was also something else that bothered him. He remembered when he confessed to the girl he liked and ended up being gently rejected. Even after so much time, he still thought about her. At one point, he even searched for her name to see how her life was going, but gave up, realizing that it would not change anything. He recognized that it was normal to regret not having lived his teenage years the way he wanted. But even so, he could not leave it behind. Looking up at the sky, he made a silent wish, hoping that if there were any chance, he would like to rebuild his life. The next day, something strange happened. Natsuki woke up, and, for some reason, his glasses fell off the bed. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he noticed that he looked younger. Confused, he tried to understand what was happening. Soon, his sister appeared, asking if he was okay, since she heard the noise of the fall. Seeing her wearing a high school uniform, he became even more confused, because she should have been in college. Without understanding the situation, he remembered the wish he had made the night before, and began to consider that maybe he had been given a new chance. To confirm, he asked what year it was, and his sister replied that it was 2014. At that moment, everything made sense. He had gone back years into the past, right after finishing middle school. He even pinched himself to make sure he was not dreaming. But everything felt real. His sister became worried about his strange behavior, but he said he was fine. Even so, he was fine anyway. She suggested that he rest a bit, leaving him alone. Natsuki began to analyze everything calmly, trying to understand if that was really time travel, like in anime. Still thinking it might be a dream, he decided to sleep again to see if he would wake up in his original reality. However, hours later, he was woken up by his mother, who congratulated him on his graduation and apologized for not being able to attend because of work. Realizing that everything was still the same, he finally accepted that it was real. There was no point in wasting time trying to understand how it happened. He had always wished for this opportunity, and now he needed to take advantage of it. This time, he wanted to truly live his adolescence, and would do everything possible to avoid repeating the same mistakes. He had just finished middle school, and would soon start high school, precisely the period when his life had fallen apart. Because of that, he knew he needed to change. The next day, he began putting into practice a transformation plan, starting with his physical condition, since he was overweight. For years, he had thought about everything he could have done differently, and now he had those ideas very clear in his mind. For him, improving his appearance was essential, and might even have influenced the rejection he suffered in the past. There was about a month left before classes started, so he decided to train every day without failing. Before, he would have made many excuses to quit, but now he was determined because he was no longer the same person. Even on difficult days, he kept training, focused on completely changing within a month. In addition, he decided to buy contact lenses to replace his glasses, aiming to improve his appearance even more. Time passed quickly, and at the end of that period, Natsuki was completely different. His sister was surprised to see him, saying that he looked like another person. When he asked what she thought, she answered simply, but that did not shake him. He was satisfied with his progress and felt ready to face whatever came next. He continued with his training routine and went out for a run, remembering that that day was the high school entrance ceremony, that is, his big chance to change everything. While resting on a bench, he noticed that a girl was watching him with curiosity. He approached to talk to her and then realized that she was someone important from his past. That girl was his childhood friend, and her name was Miori. They had studied together since kindergarten, and Miori had always been by his side as a friend. Even back when Natsuki was an overweight otaku, she never distanced herself. The last time they met was at the graduation ceremony, when he still had the same appearance as before. Now, seeing him different, Miori is clearly surprised and cannot stop staring at him. She comments that he has changed a lot, and Natsuki explains that, since he had free time, he decided to train. In truth, he had been dedicating himself a lot. Miori says it was a great effort and asks if he wanted to make an impression right on the first day of high school. Natsuki accepts the comment and asks if that was something negative, but she replies that it is not, saying that, in fact, it is something good, since before he was kind of sloppy and overweight. Even so, she comments that she always thought he had potential and just needed a change. Natsuki agrees and says that she has also changed. Miori replies that it is normal to think that way, since even though they studied at the same school before, they were never placed in the same class and hardly saw each other. In addition to him not having many friends at that time, Natsuki does not like to keep recalling that past. But Miori continues, saying that the old Natsuki seemed to have disappeared. He responds that there was nothing special about him, just someone a bit clumsy. Miori ends up getting irritated with the way he talks about himself, but soon says that she needs to leave. Before that, she asks which school he is going to attend, and Natsuki answers that he is going to Ryomai High School. Miori is surprised, saying that she also chose the same school. Natsuki thinks about asking her not to mention anything about his past, but before he can say anything, she simply leaves. On the way to school, several girls start looking at him, which confuses him. He thinks that maybe they still see him as before, but soon realizes that it is because of the change in his appearance. While trying to calm himself, he ends up running into Rikari, the girl he liked and who rejected him in the past. The two exchange looks for a few seconds, until Yui, her best friend, appears and pulls her away. Even so, Natsuki remains stuck in that moment and decides that he has a clear goal. He wants to win over Rikari. He does not know exactly how he will do it, but he is determined. Upon arriving at school, he looks at the class board and realizes that everything is the same as before, including the fact that he will be in the same class as Rikari. He also notices a small group talking and ends up paying attention to them. A boy notices this and apologizes, thinking that they were bothering him. Natsuki replies that they were not and says that he just thought they seemed close. The boy confirms and explains that they studied together before. They begin to introduce themselves. The boy is named Haita, the girl is Sakura, and the other is Takuya. Natsuki remembers them, especially Takuya, who had moved away in his previous life. Haita comments on Natsuki's physique and asks if he practices any sport, and he replies that he just trains a bit. Sakura, curious, comments on that and even touches his arm, saying that it feels firm. Over time, they end up getting closer and go to class together. At one point, Sakura looks at Rikari and comments that she is very beautiful, saying that up close she is even more impressive. Rikari gets embarrassed by the compliments, while Sakura exaggerates, saying that she wishes that beauty belonged only to her. Riita tells her to calm down, saying that she is exaggerating. Yui agrees that Rikari is very beautiful and comments that she is one of the most popular girls in the school. Rikari, visibly embarrassed, asks them to change the subject, and everyone continues talking normally. Natsuki observes all of that in silence, thinking about how extroverted people manage to keep a conversation going so easily. Even so, he realizes that this is a good opportunity to get closer to Rikari. The group starts talking about the schools they came from and ask which school Natsuki came from. He answers, but his low self-esteem makes him think that he should not be there with such popular people. However, he is mistaken, since Rikari treats him kindly and introduces herself better. Yui comments that Rikari was the most beautiful girl at her previous school, that she likes reading and watching movies, and that she was part of the literature club. Rikari tries to interrupt her friend, telling her not to exaggerate, since she does not see herself that way. Natsuki disagrees and, without thinking much, says that she really is very beautiful. At the same moment, he regrets it, thinking that he said something inappropriate, especially considering how he was in the past. However, to his surprise, Rikari only gets embarrassed and thanks him. Natsuki apologizes, saying that he spoke without thinking, and everyone is surprised by her reaction. Since she seemed used to compliments, Rikari just asks to drop the subject. Natsuki realizes that things are different this time and feels that his life can really change. He remembers how, in his previous life, he introduced himself in an exaggerated way, saying that he wanted to have 100 friends and join several clubs, something that he now sees as embarrassing. Now he knows that he needs to act differently. After classes, the group decides to visit some clubs. First, they stop by the literature club, but Rikari's presence ends up making everyone a bit nervous. Then, they go to the soccer club, where some players recognize Haida and invite him to join, but he is still unsure. Finally, they go to the basketball club. Sakura gets very excited, showing interest. Rikari comments that she seems to like it a lot, and Sakura misunderstands, thinking it is because of her height, saying that she is still growing and will develop more. Rikari tries to explain, but Sakura continues confident. At that moment, a player from the team recognizes Takuya and calls him to train with them, starting a new stage for everyone. Miori appears at that moment and greets Natsuki naturally. She notices that he is already with new friends and shows that she is happy about it. But Natsuki, a bit nervous, practically begs her not to say anything about his past as an overweight otaku. Miori just replies that, looking at him now, that does not even seem important anymore. Even so, Natsuki insists that she stop, since he finds that very uncomfortable. Without holding back much, Miori comments to the others that they studied together before, and Riita interprets that as a sign that the two are close, but both deny it immediately. Miori says that she does not know Natsuki that well, but takes the opportunity to compliment Riita, saying that he is very handsome. He thanks her, and she asks if she can call him by his first name. Haida does not mind and says that she can, stating that he will do the same with her. Miori asks him not to be so formal and to act more naturally. Soon after, she calls Natsuki aside, saying that she wants to talk about something in private. She comments that his first day was great, since he already managed to make friends. Natsuki remains worried, afraid that she might say too much. But Miori says that she can even stay quiet, as long as he helps her with something. Then she reveals that she is interested in Haida and thinks he is very handsome. Basically, she wants Natsuki to help her get closer to him. In return, she promises to help him with whatever he needs. With not many options, Natsuki accepts the deal. A week passes quickly, and Sakura gets frustrated because the gym is under maintenance and she cannot train basketball. To cheer her up, Rikari suggests that they all go out together. Sakura immediately gets excited and says that it would be almost like a date with her. Riita suggests that the whole group go together, but Sakura prefers that it be something just between her and Rikari. Even so, Rikari says that she does not mind everyone going together. and Yui agrees, making everyone accept the idea. They then ask Natsuki if he also wants to go, and he agrees. They arrange to meet the next day in the morning. When Natsuki is leaving, he notices that Rikari is also leaving alone, since Yui had other commitments. Gathering courage, he asks if she wants to walk home with him, and she accepts. During the walk, Natsuki asks about the literature club, and Rikari answers that she only attends twice a week. In fact, Natsuki already knew that. Just as he knew that Yui would be busy that day, everything was part of a plan he had prepared to have that chance to walk with her. He recognizes that this is something an extroverted person would do naturally. But in his case, he needed to plan everything beforehand. Rikari then asks what they are going to do on the outing the next day, since no one had decided anything yet. Natsuki suggests that everyone settle the details by message that night, and Rikari agrees, but remembers that they still do not have a group created. Natsuki thought there was already one, and Rikari also thought so, but she soon decides to create one right there. She asks what name they could give the group, and Natsuki jokes, saying it could be something like Rikari's fan club. She rejects the idea, saying she does not like something like that, and suggests that it could be a group with his name instead. But Natsuki finds it strange, since he believes he does not have any fans. Rikari, however, remembers that several girls were looking at him, even though he still does not realize how much his appearance has changed. In the end, she decides to create the group with a name related to him, and already sends the invitation to everyone. Without warning, she takes a photo of Natsuki and sets it as the group image, which leaves him embarrassed. He asks why she did that, and she replies that someone had to put a photo and that it made sense for it to be his. Natsuki decides to get back at her and takes a photo of her as well, posting it in the group, which makes her feel shy. Determined not to lose, Rikari gets closer and takes a selfie of the two of them together, posting it right after. Natsuki is surprised because the photo makes it look like they are more than just friends. Yui joins the group and sends a message telling them to stop acting as if they were flirting, which makes Rikari even more embarrassed, quickly denying anything like that. Natsuki looks at the photo and thinks that he has taken a big step, since his plan to change his life seems to be working. Later, already at home, Natsuki receives a call from Miori and is surprised that she has his number. She explains that she got it from his sister and says that she wants to know more about Riita. Natsuki questions since when Riita belongs to her, and Miori responds in a relaxed way, asking him to go to a place so they can talk better. When he arrives, she observes his appearance and criticizes the fact that he is wearing simple sports clothes, saying that it is not a good choice to meet a girl. Natsuki replies that he does not have many clothing options and that was the best he had. Miori insists that he needs to improve in that aspect, because appearance is also important. He agrees to talk about Haita, but asks for a favor in return. He wants help to dress better, since he does not understand anything about fashion. Miori accepts and takes him to a store to choose new clothes. He apologizes for bothering her, but she says that it is not a problem, since she knows that he has no one else besides her to ask for this kind of help. She states that she is the ideal partner for him, since she also needs his help to get closer to Haita. Natsuki finally understands the situation, and she reinforces that if they work together, both can achieve what they want. She assures him that, with her help, he will do very well in high school and will have more chances of getting a girlfriend. Convinced, Natsuki fully accepts the partnership between the two of them. When the day of the outing arrives, Riita shows up with a stylish look. Sakura appears with a more feminine and different style than usual. Since everyone has already arrived, the group starts moving together for the outing. During the way, Rikari asks Natsuki where he bought his clothes. He answers, but his insecurity appears immediately, and he asks if it did not look strange on him. Rikari tells him not to think like that, since she was actually going to compliment him, because she thought the clothes suited him very well. Natsuki feels relieved and thinks that Miori's help is really paying off. Trying to take initiative, he also compliments Rikari, saying that her clothes look great. However, she reacts in an unexpected way, saying that was not exactly what she expected to hear, since she would have preferred that he had said that she looked beautiful. Natsuki feels embarrassed, apologizes, but Rikari starts laughing, saying that it was just a joke. Then, she explains that she likes clothes with an androgynous style, something between feminine and masculine, and comments that she sometimes even buys men's pieces if she likes the look. Natsuki agrees and says that he thinks it suits her very well, becoming completely enchanted while looking at her. In his mind, there is no denying it. Rikari is really very beautiful. The group arrives at a sports entertainment center, and Sakura gets extremely excited, asking what they are going to do first. Riita suggests that they start with whatever is available, since the place is crowded, and asks if everyone likes table tennis, since that is what is free at the moment. Sakura loves the idea and accepts right away. Rikari comments that, although she is not very good at most sports, in table tennis she does fairly well. Takuya finds that interesting and says that he wants to test it, directly challenging Rikari. She, however, becomes a bit hesitant and says that it is not a good idea to play against him. Sakura joins the fun and says that he will have to beat her first if he wants to face Rikari, which makes Takuya comment that they are treating him like a difficult boss in a game. Natsuki, a bit nervous, takes the opportunity to ask Rikari to play with him. Since she did not want to face Takuya, she accepts, but asks him to go easy. Natsuki agrees, although he remains distracted thinking about how beautiful she is. The matches begin, and both Sakura and Takuya show that they are very good. Meanwhile, Haida and Yui stay waiting for their turn, since there are not enough tables, and decide to just watch and cheer for now. Riita suggests that they make some kind of tournament, which makes everything more interesting. Sakura loves the idea, and the match between her and Takuya becomes more and more intense. Meanwhile, Natsuki plays against Rikari, but soon realizes that she is not doing as well as she said. She starts making many mistakes and admits that it has been a long time since she played, so she is rusty. Even so, Natsuki notices that she did not even come close to hitting some plays. They try once more, but Rikari continues to struggle, saying that that is definitely not her day. Yui approaches and jokes, telling her to stop pretending as if she were hiding something. Natsuki says that he realized that on his own, which surprises Rikari, who gets embarrassed and says that she was not lying, just that she is better at that sport than at others. Yui comments that her coordination does not help much, and that is why she is doing poorly. Even so, Rikari says that she does not see a problem with that, because she likes those activities even if she is not good at them. She gets a bit annoyed with the comments, but Natsuki just laughs and thinks that, even like that, she is still very cute. After that, they keep playing, but Rikari does not improve much. At another table, Riita faces Yui and ends up winning easily. Sakura also plays against Takuya, but ends up losing. Then, Natsuki faces Haida, who wins the match, leading the final to be between him and Takuya. Riita enters confidently, saying that he usually wins, which irritates Takuya, who responds by saying that only who wins now matters. In the end, Riita takes the victory by a minimal difference. Sakura, watching everything, gets frustrated and says that she is better than them. Natsuki agrees just to cheer her up. Takuya wants to keep playing, but Natsuki suggests a break, since everyone has already played a lot. However, Takuya insists, saying that the time at the place is limited and that they need to make the most of it. Natsuki realizes that he is irritated, probably because he did not manage to beat Riita. Takuya then decides to go alone to the batting area to relieve his frustration. Sakura asks if they should leave him alone, and Rikari thinks that might be a bit cruel, since he is a friend. Haida, on the other hand, says that real friends do not need to be together all the time, and Rikari ends up agreeing in part. Yui also says that everything is fine, since they know each other well enough to understand that. Natsuki observes everything in silence, thinking that he never had a relationship like that outside his family. Even so, he believes that there is still a path until everyone there truly becomes close. Haida notices that Natsuki is thoughtful, but does not comment on it. After that, the group decides to go eat something. Sakura proposes a toast for them starting high school together. Riita asks if that was the reason for the outing, and Sakura replies that it was not, but that it proves that now they are friends. Rikari asks how she can say that without feeling embarrassed, and Sakura responds by asking if there is anything wrong with that. Rikari admits there is not and says that she even finds it cute. Yui also agrees, saying that Rikari is cute when she reacts like that, which makes her even more embarrassed. During the conversation, Riita comments to Natsuki that he was impressed by him, since even without being in a sports club, he managed to keep up with their pace. Sakura agrees and says that now she understands why his body is so firm. Takuya also praises his skills and asks why he did not join any club. Natsuki replies that he was thinking about working as soon as high school started. Since his family does not have good financial conditions, he understands that he has never worked before. Then, Riita comments that jobs in restaurants and supermarkets are usually the most common options for those who are starting out. Sakura adds that karaoke bars and fast food chains are also good alternatives. Natsuki replies that he had already thought exactly about those places. At that moment, Yui asks if he would like to know the place where she works, which surprises everyone, since no one knew about it until then, not even Rikari. Yui explains that she works at a cafe that is nearby, and is a bit surprised by the other's reaction, but understands since she had never talked about it before. She says that the place is called Café Mares and that the desserts there are very well known. Sakura comments that she has heard about it and has even visited the place, praising it a lot. Yui says that the salary is good and that the environment is pleasant. Natsuki becomes interested and says that he intends to visit the place soon to see if he can get a job there. Rikari, on the other hand, feels a bit uncomfortable, finding it strange that her best friend never told her that before. Natsuki ends up mentioning something that she did not know, which increases her suspicion even more. She says that there is something wrong with that, and Natsuki thinks that maybe she believes Yui hid it because of him. Yui tries to calm the situation, saying that she was going to tell at some point and that she only mentioned it now by coincidence, since Natsuki was looking for a job. Hearing that, Natsuki realizes that he was overthinking, and even came to imagine that Yui might have some interest in him, which makes him a bit embarrassed. To clear his head, he goes to get a drink. While he is alone, Riita approaches and takes the opportunity to ask a direct question. He wants to know if Natsuki does not like Takuya. The question catches Natsuki off guard, since he never expected someone to notice something like that. Riita, seeing that he takes time to answer, says that he just confirmed what he already suspected. Natsuki asks the reason for that impression, and Riita explains that although everyone is getting along, he noticed that Natsuki does not interact much with Takuya, which caught his attention. Natsuki admits that there is something, but says that it is not exactly what it seems. He explains that the problem is not Takuya's fault and that he prefers not to talk about it. Riita decides to trust Natsuki and drops the subject. After Riita leaves, Natsuki thinks that he is not popular only because of his appearance, but also because he is a good person. In another corner, Sakura and Takuya are playing basketball while the others watch. Even there, Natsuki cannot stop thinking about the conversation he had. He remembers that Takuya was part of the basketball team, but does not recall exactly what happened at that time. Haida calls Natsuki to play as well, and he accepts, liking the idea. He comments that he has always liked basketball, even when he was not in good shape, and that he continued playing over the years, even in college. It had been 7 years of practice, and although he had not played since returning to the past, his experience was still there. When he gets the ball, he quickly shows his skill, making a perfect shot. Everyone is impressed, since he does not seem like a beginner. Yui and Rikari comment that he is really good. Natsuki realizes that his new physical condition has also improved his performance and feels his body lighter and more agile. He continues making several baskets, surprising everyone and even himself. Sakura gets excited and says that he should join the team. Riita agrees and says that he has a lot of talent. Natsuki, however, tries to remain humble and says that he is not all that. Sakura insists, saying that it would be amazing to have him on the team, but he replies that he has never played in a team and does not think it would be a good idea. To avoid suspicion, he makes up that he plays on a court near his house, which would explain his skill. Sakura keeps insisting, so she decides to ask Takuya's opinion. He becomes serious for a moment, which confuses everyone. but soon says that he is just impressed with Natsuki's level. Even so, Sakura continues trying to convince him. Natsuki remembers that he needs to work, and she replies that he would be wasting talent. At that moment, Takuya proposes a direct challenge, a duel between the two to see who is really better, where whoever scores 3 points first wins. Natsuki remembers the conversation with Haida and realizes that this might be the chance to face his discomfort with Takuya. He decides to accept the challenge, determined not to run away anymore. With everyone watching and cheering, the game begins. Natsuki knows that Rikari is watching and wants to take advantage of that to impress her. He remembers Takuya's playing style, since he used to observe him in the past, and uses that to his advantage. With some well-executed dribbles, he manages to score the first point. Takuya seems surprised, unable to fully keep up with the movements. Rikari is clearly impressed. Now on defense, Natsuki manages to predict Takuya's movements and stop his plays. Since he knows his patterns, Takuya starts playing more seriously, but Natsuki does not back down, determined to give his best in that confrontation. However, Natsuki comments that it was too simple, since he spent 3 years closely following the way Takuya played. Even so, he does not understand how he managed to predict his movements. Natsuki answers that it was pure instinct, although he recognizes that the situation favored him a lot, since this version of Takuya is still in the first year and has much to improve. He adds that if he were facing the third-year Takuya, he would probably have more difficulties. But that is not the case now, and because of that, he can trick his opponent easily and scores the second point. He states that he does not have natural talent, but his 7 years of experience make a big difference. Takuya realizes that he needs to take it seriously, since he is only 1 point away from defeat. Then, he increases his speed to try to get past Natsuki. At first, Natsuki underestimates the move and believes that everything was already under control. Rikari watches attentively, and that makes Natsuki feel that he absolutely cannot lose under any circumstances. He wants to win to impress her, but he also remembers that he has always wanted to surpass Takuya. At the same time, he admits that he admires Takuya very much, recalling that, in the past, he used to defend him when everyone judged him negatively. He acknowledges that he only managed to remain on the basketball team because of him, even going so far as to become captain and a standout of the team, since Takuya never allowed anyone to speak badly about him. Natsuki knows that his adolescence had difficult moments, but he also understands that things improved thanks to Takuya and feels gratitude for everything that he did. Because of that, he decides that he will not hold himself back anymore. He recovers the ball and prepares himself to make the third and final point. During this, he remembers that he once felt afraid of Takuya because of his striking, almost overwhelming presence, something that made him feel insecure. This memory frightens him, especially when thinking that he might start to feel something negative toward him again. Even so, he decides to take the risk with a long-distance shot and manages to score the decisive point. Securing the victory, he declares that, this time, he will not disappoint him as before, and will do everything possible to become his friend. In the end, he ends up drawing everyone's attention, especially Rikari's. Sakura congratulates him on the victory. Takuya shows a certain discomfort at first, but accepts the result. He comments that he does not see a problem in losing to Natsuki, because he believes that he is a good person. Haibara starts working at the cafe and quickly stands out in the kitchen, surprising the manager for learning so fast, even though it is his first job, although he already had previous experience. His friends show up at the place to see him, which ends up causing a bit of trouble. But they spend some time together, take photos, and Haibara even prepares a dinner that impresses everyone. With the arrival of exams, the group realizes the difficulty of the tests and decides to focus on studying. Haibara naturally takes on the role of helping the others, explaining the material, especially to Yuta, who has more difficulty. During this time, a certain closeness arises between them, although they deny any involvement beyond friendship. In the following days, he continues helping everyone, reinforcing his dedication to his friends. Amid the conversations, questions about feelings come up, and Haibara admits that he likes Hikari, while the others avoid exposing themselves clearly. Later, during a study session at the cafe, he meets Miori, and Yuta shows a bit of jealousy by trying to keep him nearby. Haibara hands over study materials made with a lot of effort, impressing Yuta. Miori, on the other hand, suggests that Yuta might be developing an obsession with him, something Haibara finds hard to believe. In the end, Haibara and Miori walk back home together, and he reveals his true goal: to live a more intense and experience-filled adolescence, different from the dull past he had, although Miori interprets this in a provocative way. She even comments that maybe he has not realized it, but he ended up getting involved in something bigger. Haibara does not understand it at the moment, but it will soon make sense. When he arrives home, he throws himself onto the bed thinking about it, until he receives a message from Hikari asking if she can call. He accepts, thinking it would be something fun, but she wants to talk about Tatsuya. She says that he seems sad lately and asks if Haibara knows anything. He replies that boys usually do not talk about feelings, because they find it strange. Hikari hopes it is just an impression, and Haibara promises to observe more carefully. The next day, they arrive at school and take another test. After everything, the week of evaluations ends and they are finally free. Then they decide to celebrate by going to karaoke, something very common in Japan. It is the first time Haibara goes with other people, since before he used to go alone. For many, that might seem sad, but for him it was something special, almost a personal moment of relaxation. He ended up becoming very good over time. Even so, singing alone was not the same. Maybe that is why he learned to put emotion into the songs. Yuta hands him the tablet to choose a song. It has been 7 years since the last time he sang like that, so he hopes he will not embarrass himself. He chooses a song, and Yuta says she loves it and asks if she can sing along. Haibara agrees, and the two show what they can do. He sings with a lot of emotion, because he feels that the song reflects something inside him. During a performance, Haibara moves everyone with his presentation, even making some people cry. Yuta shows herself especially involved and close to him, praising his musical taste. This closeness sparks Tatsu's jealousy, who loses control, makes a scene, and leaves angrily. Haibara goes after him to understand what happened, and after some resistance, Tatsu admits that he feels inferior and frustrated. Seeing Haibara as someone perfect, Riita then explains the situation. Tatsu is jealous because he likes Yuta and constantly feels overshadowed by Haibara, whether in talent, appearance, or the attention he receives. Even without direct fault, Haibara realizes that he needs to deal better with the emotions of the people around him. The tension causes the group to slowly drift apart, breaking the atmosphere of friendship that existed before. Despite this, Haibara continues to stand out and ends up ranking first in the exams. Yuta celebrates with him and suggests that they go out together, but he refuses out of respect for Tatsu's feelings, which leaves him sad and reflective. On the way home, under the rain, Miori appears and insists on helping him. She leads him to open up emotionally, showing that she has always been by his side. The next day, determined to fix everything, Haibara looks for Tatsu to talk and try to resolve the situation between them. Tatsu states that he just wants to be alone, but Haibara reminds him that he has been acting like that for an entire week. Tatsu replies that maybe everything would be better without him around. Haibara immediately disagrees, saying that he should not think that way, and that, even in his worst moments, he never came to consider something like that. Tatsu responds that it is easy for him to say, since he seems to get everything right. Then, he finally admits that it is not exactly jealousy that he feels, but envy. He does not like feeling that toward a friend, and that is why he decided to distance himself. Haibara asks if this has to do with Yuta, and Tatsu questions if he already knew. Haibara explains that he did not, that he only found out because Riita told him, and even comments that he always admired Tatsu since middle school, never imagining that he could feel that way. Tatsu vents, saying that he does not know how to get closer to her or catch her attention. He feels that he has nothing special, except for basketball, and even in that Haibara ended up surpassing him, making him feel useless. Even so, he makes it clear that he does not blame Haibara for it. Haibara replies that it really is not his fault, and that he just wanted to understand what was happening. He remembers that, the day before, he told everything to Miori, and ended up being called an idiot while getting hit with a pillow. He thought that meant it was his fault, but Miori made it clear that it was not. For her, the problem lay in Tatsu's insecurities, which were bothered by the way Haibara interacted with other people. Even so, Haibara insists that he might bear some responsibility, but Miori does not accept that idea and says he is overcomplicating something that is not his fault. She advises him to stop blaming himself and go resolve things directly. Back in the present, Haibara takes control of the conversation and tells Tatsu that he is also wrong for being stuck in those comparisons. Tatsu insists that he sees him as someone perfect, but Haibara denies it, stating that no one is like that. He explains that he puts in a lot of effort to maintain that image, especially now that he has started high school, which puts a lot of pressure on him. On the outside, he may seem confident, but inside he is full of anxiety. Tatsu finds it hard to believe, so Haibara decides to prove it. He says that, before all of this, he had a very different and not admirable past. Haibara's words end up reaching Tatsu, who decides to come back, but says he does not intend to reveal everything. At that moment, the door suddenly opens and the rest of the group appears. Riita explains that he tried to stop them from listening to the conversation, but could not. Since everyone has already heard everything, there is no longer a way to avoid the situation. Yuta approaches Tatsu and apologizes, but makes it clear that she sees him only as a friend. The sincerity is direct and ends up shaking Tatsu. Yuta still tries to explain further, but Riita interrupts her to avoid making the situation worse. The other girls comment that everything turned into a bigger drama than it needed to be, and even joke that both the confession and Haibara's revelation were too intense. They ask if they should pretend they did not hear anything, but Haibara says it does not matter, since one day he would end up telling everything anyway. Then they ask to see his old photo, which creates even more embarrassment. Tatsu complains about being exposed, but Haibara reminds him that he did not want that either, and that he tried to talk in an isolated place precisely to avoid it. Riita ends the discussion, reminding everyone that they should be in class. Before leaving, Tatsu tells Yuta not to forget him, stating that he will still win her over, surprising everyone. Later, during a moment with Miori, Haibara comments that he fears that people might discover who he really is. Miori holds his hand and says that she likes him, both for the effort he makes and for who he truly is now. Haibara thanks her, but makes it clear that he sees her as a childhood friend. After everything is resolved, he admits that he owes her a favor. The next day, already at the cafe, the shift is almost over. Ueno recognizes a song playing and comments about it. Haibara is surprised to know that she understands the subject, but she explains that she studies classical music and has been playing the piano for years. He asks her to let him know when she is going to perform someday. At that moment, Miori appears, still tired from practice, and decides to wait in silence until he finishes, thinking about going home together afterward. Ueno, not missing the chance, asks if Haibara is interested in her. He quickly replies that he is not, saying that he sees her like a sister. But Ueno does not quite believe it and comments that, by her behavior, she seems more like someone waiting for her boyfriend so they can leave together. When they finally leave, Haibara asks why she took so long, since practice usually ends earlier. Miori explains that she decided to stay longer training together with Yuta. Haibara, in a somewhat strict tone, comments that he does not think it is right for her to be out on the streets so late, as if he were scolding her. Miori does not let it slide and pulls his ear, saying that he is talking nonsense and that, instead of complaining, he should thank her for being there keeping him company. According to her, this even helps him get used to being around pretty girls. In a somewhat playful tone, but with a serious undertone, she makes it clear that he should not create expectations or fall in love, since she is already interested in Riita. Later, inside the train, Miori comments that now that the atmosphere in the group is calmer, she wants to suggest a double date. The idea would be for her to go out with Riita, while Haibara would go with Hikari. He is clearly uncomfortable and refuses at first, but Miori insists and teases him a little, saying that he needs to stop running away. She also argues that, if everything goes well, everyone can end up benefiting, being with the ones they truly like. In the end, Haibara accepts, also because he feels that he owes her for the recent help. The next day, in the library, he takes the opportunity to talk to Hikari, using as an excuse the search for a book similar to one she had recommended before. The conversation flows well, and he realizes it is a good opportunity. Then he mentions that the book, Detective Hero, will get a movie adaptation that weekend. Hikari immediately gets excited and says she really wants to watch it. Taking advantage of the moment, Haibara gathers courage and invites her. She accepts without problems, but there is a slight hesitation that makes Haibara feel insecure. Right after, Hikari asks if he intends to invite anyone else. He interprets this as if she does not want to go alone with him. So he quickly mentions that Miori will also be there. Hikari replies that, in that case, she would rather not go, since she does not want to feel out of place. Haibara then explains better, saying that Miori plans to go with Riita. That catches Hikari's attention, and she asks if Miori likes him. Haibara confirms it, and she says she had already suspected that because of how close they were during study sessions. Then, Haibara invites Riita, who immediately accepts, excited about the idea. However, shortly after, Yuta appears, apparently having overheard part of the conversation. He asks if they are going to the cinema, and if he can join. Haibara explains the plan and asks if he is interested in the movie. Yuta replies that he does not find the movie that interesting, but still wants to go, even hinting that he could dress up in a special way to attract attention. Haibara, trying to avoid complications, laughs and says that maybe it is better for him not to go, and that they will tell him how it went afterward. Yuta gets a bit upset, but tries to hide it, suggesting that at least they could go out afterward. Not wanting to make things worse, Haibara agrees, saying that he enjoys spending time with him. Yuta leaves satisfied, while Haibara realizes that he does not know how to handle this kind of situation very well, especially because it is the first time he feels something like this for someone. On the way to the meeting, he tells everything to Miori, who reacts in a direct and even somewhat provocative way, saying that he should simply allow himself to live these experiences. Haibara disagrees, saying that it would not be right, but Miori counters by saying that he is overcomplicating something simple. According to her, he is not even in a relationship yet, so there is no reason to act as if he were doing something wrong. She also comments that Hikari is a good girl and that he should stop hesitating so much. Haibara realizes that he might be idealizing the situation too much. Miori says that this is his problem, and that he only needs to make a decision if someone actually confesses. When they arrive at the plaza, they meet Riita and Hikari. They buy the tickets, but since there is still time, they walk around the place. Miori starts showing some clothes to Hikari, and the two chat excitedly. At one point, Hikari comments to Miori that it seems like she invaded the date, but Miori replies that everything was planned that way. Meanwhile, Riita comments to Haibara that they seem to get along well, as if it were a natural relationship, almost like siblings. During the outing, Hikari pulls Haibara aside to give space to the others, and they go to the cinema. Afterward, at the restaurant, the atmosphere becomes a bit awkward, especially because Riita and Miori act in a hurry. The situation gets worse when classmates from the Min Girls group confront Miori for missing practices, leaving her clearly shaken, although she tries to hide it. At the end of the outing, Riita asks Haibara to take care of Miori since she is not feeling well. On the way back, she shows frustration because the day did not turn out as she had imagined, but Haibara tries to reassure her. Days later, he goes to watch her practice and notices her talent, but also observes her individualistic attitude. After the game, Miori scolds him for getting involved, showing that she is dealing with everything on her own. Yuta explains that she is facing conflicts on the team for having been chosen as a starter, and for not integrating well with the others. Tatsu shows concern and even considers confronting whoever is causing the problems. Later, Haibara reflects and realizes that Miori does not trust the team, since she does not pass the ball. Then, he talks to Yuta through a video call, where she shows affection and reveals that she also tried to help Miori, without success. With that, Haibara decides that he needs to act to help her. The next day, Natsuki shows up to pick Miori up and accompanies her to the court, where Yuta was already waiting for the two of them. As soon as they arrive, Natsuki explains that Yuta will be the referee for the match. The two of them would have a one-on-one game right there. Miori immediately complains, telling him to stop acting like an idiot, since he had never played before and had absolutely no chance of defeating her. Natsuki replies that she was only talking like that because, deep down, she was nervous. The comment irritates her so much that she says she is going to make him swallow those words. Then Natsuki decides to raise the stakes even more. However, if he wins, she will have to say everything she truly thinks without hiding anything. Miori accepts immediately, completely convinced that there was no possible way he could beat her. After all, he clearly was not the protagonist of some miraculous story. But, to her complete shock, Natsuki actually manages to defeat her. Now, with no way out, she would have to accept his help. Even so, Miori still does not understand why he insists so much on getting involved in her problems. Natsuki answers that he wants to help her because she also helps him. Miori remembers that she really had promised to help him with that crazy childish plan of his. Natsuki then says that he can repay her in the same way. To him, that is what friends do for each other. Yuta also agrees and says she feels exactly the same way. She says that she wants to support Miori because they are best friends and because asking for help does not turn anyone into a weak person. Miori, however, argues back by saying that she actually is weak. According to her, the only thing she really knows how to do is pretend otherwise. Natsuki then tells her that she does not need to keep pretending to be tough around him. Right after that, he hugs her and tells her to stop acting in such a submissive way. Miori replies that she is not being submissive at all. She is simply going through a difficult moment. The hug ends up lasting longer than it should have, mainly because that was the first time Natsuki had ever hugged a girl, and he simply did not know what the right moment to pull away was. In the end, Miori pushes him away and says that is enough of that, reminding him that they still need to deliver the object to Yuta. Yuta, on the other hand, does not find the scene funny at all and starts making a huge fuss at Natsuki. After that, Miori asks Natsuki to never abandon her again like what happened back in middle school. She explains that she did not stop talking to him because he was fat and ugly. In reality, she asked him to stay away precisely because he was fat and ugly. The explanation sounds so strange that even she herself does not seem sure whether she managed to express it properly. Natsuki apologizes for everything that happened and comments that he eventually woke up to reality and lost weight, but he quickly cuts the topic short, saying that there has already been enough useless conversation and that now they need to focus on Miori's real problem. She then begins explaining how everything happened. When she joined the team, she was extremely happy because she finally felt that her skills were being recognized. Little by little, she started seeing herself as the main star. During practice, she would humiliate her teammates over their mistakes and treated their failures as something ridiculous. However, 2 weeks earlier, she ended up forgetting an item in the locker room and had to go back to get it. That was when she overheard some girls from the team talking badly about her behind her back. They were saying that Miori was acting like an idiot, that popularity had gone to her head, and that she acted as if she were superior to everyone else, like the others were trash just because she was good at playing. The situation shook her far more than she wanted to admit. She believed she would be able to ignore those criticisms, but during the next practice, she realized that she could no longer pass the ball to anyone. So she decided to handle everything herself and score points without depending on the rest of the team. After that, her teammates started complaining that Miori never passed the ball and was not playing together with the group. That was exactly when the situation truly began falling apart. She stopped showing up to optional practices, and from that moment on, everything only got even worse. Just like before, Natsuki says that the situation is not entirely bad. Now they already know exactly what the problem is. She cannot trust people enough to pass them the ball. Then he throws a ball toward her and starts passing it back and forth. Not long after, Yuta joins in as well. Even so, Miori still has difficulty passing the ball, which feels strange since earlier she had no problem at all doing it with Atsu. Yuta reminds her that she is on her side and that nobody there intends to hurt her. So the three of them continue practicing passes until they are completely exhausted. Little by little, Miori starts recovering some of the trust she used to have in other people. The next step would be managing to pass the ball to the older girls on the team. Even though she wants to improve, she admits that she is still afraid. All she wants is to become stronger, but she thinks it is impossible to trust people who talk badly about her behind her back. Natsuki then remembers the time when he suffered because of his weight and how the teammates on his own team also used to talk badly about him. Thinking about that, he realizes there were words he wishes he had heard back then. So he promises that he will support her, but asks that, in return, she try not to be so harsh with him. Complaints, scolding, or suggestions. He says he will accept anything that comes from her. Miori sincerely thanks him for that. Meanwhile, Yuta gets irritated once again because she feels like she ended up being left out of the conversation. The two of them quickly say that they also really need her help, although it becomes pretty obvious that they are only saying that so she will not feel sad. Even so, Natsuki insists quite a lot, and in the end she gives in, especially after he reminds her that Miori is her best friend. Miori immediately reacts in surprise, asking since when the two of them had become best friends, as if she still had not realized just how close the two of them already were. Later that same night, Miori sends Natsuki a message saying that practice had gone really well and that she had finally managed to pass the ball to someone. The problem was that the someone she passed it to was only the referee. Even so, Natsuki replies that it still counts as a beginning. At that exact moment, someone knocks on the door of his house. To his surprise, it is Miori herself. She asks him if they can talk outside so his little sister will not overhear anything. Of course, his sister immediately starts assuming that the two of them are secretly dating. Natsuki complains about her walking around alone so late at night and says that he will walk her back home while listening to whatever she wanted to say. Then Miori invites him to watch her game the following day, even if it is only for a few minutes. Natsuki accepts and comments that she could have simply sent him a message, but that it is fine anyway. The next day, he shows up in the stands and waves at her. Yuta also tries to get his attention. Although she can barely even be seen from the bench, she has to exaggerate her movements a lot before Miori finally notices and waves back. When the match begins, everyone is surprised to see Miori grab the ball and immediately pass it to one of her teammates. After that, she declares that from now on she intends to play together with the rest of the team. And this time, she truly keeps her promise. Throughout the entire game, she starts trusting the other girls more and more, constantly distributing passes. Every point scored is born from the plays she creates. Her teammates celebrate and praise Miori with a lot of excitement. Little by little, the heavy atmosphere disappears completely, and the team finally begins to feel truly united. At one point, Miori even dedicates a play to Natsuki from inside the court, and he responds by applauding from the stands. However, after watching everything for a while, Natsuki realizes that she no longer needs him there worrying about her all the time. Miori had finally managed to overcome the thing that had been holding her back, so he decides to leave before the game ends. Yuta gets a little upset because he left without even saying goodbye. Even so, the story soon gives the two of them another chance to meet. Later on, we see Natsuki waiting outside a festival. Not long afterward, Yuta appears wearing a yukata and ready to spend the night together with him. She reminds him that, a few days earlier, she had invited several friends to go to the festival together. Tatsuki had said that he would go. But after practice, Ino commented that she preferred not to participate because she felt uncomfortable around large crowds. Riita also turned down the invitation, while Jalori explained that she already had plans with her family. That left Yuta feeling a little disappointed, since she had planned on going together with someone. So, the following day, she decided to gather her courage and directly ask Natsuki if he wanted to go with her, practically inviting him on a date. He accepted without any problems, and that is how the two of them ended up spending that night together at the festival. Yuta quickly took the lead and began guiding him through the different stalls. At one point, she asked if he liked seeing her wearing a yukata and confessed that she had chosen that outfit specifically for that occasion. Natsuki replied that she looked very beautiful and elegant, which obviously made Yuta even more nervous and embarrassed. The two of them decided to buy cotton candy first. However, while they were walking, Yuta noticed that Natsuki could not stop looking at her, and that caused her face to become completely flustered and red. Yuta asks Natsuki to stop staring at her like that because it makes her extremely nervous. However, right afterward, she herself admits that she also wants him to keep looking. Since she spent quite a long time trying to look pretty for that night, Natsuki becomes completely lost, unable to understand what he was supposed to do or what kind of reaction she actually wanted from him. Even confused, he simply keeps walking beside her while they continue exploring the festival. After wandering around the illuminated stalls for a little while longer, the two of them begin searching for something to eat. At that moment, Natsuki remembers that Yuta's family was working at a food stall in the festival and suggests that they stop by to take a look. But Yuta immediately rejects the idea. For very obvious reasons, she does not want to appear beside him in front of her entire family during something that clearly looked like a date. So they end up choosing another random stall where they can eat peacefully. After buying their food, the two sit together on a bench away from the crowd and start talking while sharing the snack. At one point, Yuta picks up some food with her own chopsticks and directly offers it to Natsuki. That makes him extremely nervous, even though she tries to act as if it is not a big deal at all. While crossing through the crowd, Yuta discreetly grabs the sleeve of his shirt so she will not accidentally get separated from him in the middle of all the people. Later on, they find a shooting game booth and decide to try playing. Natsuki is overflowing with confidence, believing that all the hours he spent playing video games would finally be useful. However, the instant he picks up the rifle, he realizes that it had absolutely nothing to do with the games he knew. The two of them end up missing almost all of their shots. Even so, through pure luck, Yuta manages to win a small prize. She gives the keychain she won to Natsuki, telling him to keep it as a memory of that night. Natsuki immediately feels guilty because she managed to win while he failed completely, so he insists on buying something for her as well. Yuta tries to say that there is no need, but he keeps insisting anyway. As they begin walking through the festival stalls once again, someone suddenly runs past them and almost crashes into Yuta. Natsuki reacts quickly and pulls her close to him to move her out of the way. With the two of them now extremely close to each other, Yuta quietly comments that, from that distance, he seemed much taller. Natsuki laughs at the observation and replies that she is simply way too small. Yuta immediately protests, saying that she is still going to grow taller. The atmosphere between them completely changes after that. For a few seconds, everything becomes silent and awkward. Natsuki slowly leans in, as if he is seriously thinking about kissing her. However, at the very last second, he remembers Hikari and completely freezes, unable to decide what he should do. Yuta notices his reaction and says that it is fine, that she completely understands the situation. Trying to ease the awkward atmosphere, she suggests that the two of them write wishes on small pieces of paper, since that festival would not have fireworks. So they take the papers to write down their wishes. Before doing so, Yuta asks Natsuki to turn around while she writes hers. He asks if she intends to hide the wish from him. She replies that he can look if he wants, but admits that she feels a little embarrassed about it. After that, Yuta asks what kind of wish he wrote down. Natsuki then shows her the paper, where it says, "The greatest teenage years of all time." Yuta finds that surprisingly romantic, sincere, and even a little touching. However, when she gets ready to place her own paper beside his, she realizes that the wish she originally wrote suddenly seems kind of stupid in comparison. Because of that, she ends up changing her wish to the exact same thing Natsuki wrote. Afterward, the two continue walking around the festival while talking about practice and about how Miori and the guacamole were finally starting to get along better now. At one point, Yuta takes his hand and tells him not to worry, because nobody would see them like that. Not long later, they arrive at her family's shop. Yuta then stops at the entrance and thanks Natsuki for the wonderful night they spent together. Natsuki thanks her for inviting him and says that he also enjoyed it a lot. But right after that, he simply leaves as if it were the most normal thing in the world. No hug, no kiss, nothing even remotely romantic. Not even a slightly bold gesture happened between them. After he leaves, Yuta remains standing there watching for a few seconds. Then we finally discover what the wish she had written before changing her mind actually was. Her real wish had been for Natsuki to eventually fall in love with her. The next day, Natsuki walks into the classroom greeting all of his friends as usual. When he meets Riita, he comments that he knows very well how much Natsuki likes Hikari and that he also understands how sincere she is. Because of that, he always believed Natsuki would never try to deceive someone he didn't genuinely have feelings for. Now, however, he has realized that Natsuki likes Yuta just as much as he likes Hikari. Hearing that, Natsuki quickly asks him not to say those things so loudly. Riita simply replies that, in exchange for keeping quiet, he wants to keep having chances with Miori. Shortly afterward, the entire group starts talking about what they plan to do during summer vacation. Yuta comments that she would love to travel with everyone, whether to the mountains or the beach. Natsuki immediately agrees and says he would rather go to the beach as well. The problem is that everyone knows a trip like that is usually expensive, and most of them do not have extra money to spare. So Yuta asks Tatsu if he would like to work temporarily at her family's shop. Riita reminds everyone that they still need to decide dates and schedules since many of them have practice and other commitments. Even so, Natsuki thinks the idea of traveling with friends during the summer is amazing. To him, moments like that are one of the most special experiences of adolescence, something he has always wanted to live through. Hikari also comments that she would really like to go to the beach. Later, while talking to one of her friends at work, Natsuki asks if there is any specific reason why Hikari might not be able to join the trip. The girl finds the question strange and asks why he thinks that. Natsuki explains that he noticed Hikari always leaves early whenever the group hangs out together, so he assumed her parents must be very strict about schedules. Her friend confirms this and explains that Hikari's father is extremely strict and also very stubborn. Because of that, it would be difficult to convince him to let his daughter travel and spend the night away with a group that also includes boys. In the end, she says the only way to know for sure is by talking directly to Hikari. Before that, however, she believes the group needs to organize a proper plan first. The scene then shifts to Natsuki in his room, talking to Miori on the phone. She jokes that he only wants to go to the beach to see Yuta and Hikari wearing bikinis. Miori also explains that traveling to the beach from Gunma would require them to stay there for at least one night. Natsuki agrees, saying the trip takes a long time because of the transportation. Soon afterward, Miori sends him a photo of the place, and Natsuki is impressed by the beautiful scenery. She comments that now the group just needs to discuss everything properly and make a final decision. She also says she is curious to know what they will ultimately choose and asks him to tell her afterward. Before hanging up, Miori seems like she wants to ask something related to Yute, but changes her mind at the last second and ends the call. The following morning, on his way to school, Natsuki runs into Hikari. The moment he sees her, he feels his heart race once again. To him, Hikari is the most beautiful girl in the world. During their conversation, she mentions that her grades have improved and reminds him that summer vacation is getting close. Natsuki then remembers the conversation about the trip and how difficult it would be for her to join because of her father. Even so, he mentions that she seemed to really want to go to the beach. Hikari replies that she truly would like to, but believes she probably will not be able to participate. Natsuki asks if her parents completely forbade the trip. Hikari explains that her father is extremely stubborn and that once he decides something, he almost never changes his mind. She ends up apologizing for bringing up the subject again, but Natsuki tells her not to worry so much. Despite that, Hikari says she will try to seriously talk to her father in order to get permission. Then Natsuki asks if she likes the beach that much. She answers that she does, because looking at the vast ocean makes her problems seem very small. Once again, Natsuki realizes just how much he likes her. At first, he fell in love with Hikari's appearance, but now he also admires her kind personality. Even so, he feels there are still many things about Hashimiya that he does not truly know yet. Later, he shows the group the beach he found, and everyone is very impressed with the place, especially because it is the closest beach to Gunma. Yuta immediately says she thinks it is a great idea for them to go there and comments that the trip will certainly be a lot of fun. Natsuki also researched some places for them to stay and suggests renting a cottage. He explains that it would be a vacation house where everyone could stay together during the trip. Some of them ask if that would not be too expensive, but Natsuki replies that he found some very cheap option. On top of that, he already talked with some more outgoing classmates who travel often and got several useful tips. While the group talks excitedly, Hikari ends up feeling sad because she thinks she might not be able to go with them. At that moment, Tatsu asks if it would not be better to invite a few more people on the trip. Yuta suggests inviting Miori and Seri as well. Riita immediately agrees, saying it would be even more fun with more people joining. Shortly afterward, Hikari explains that she still has not been able to convince her parents to let her travel. There is a real possibility that she truly will not be allowed to go. So she apologizes to everyone. Even after hearing that, the entire group shows concern because they feel the trip will not be the same without her. Even so, Hikari promises that she will do everything she can to manage to go to the beach together with all of her friends. During the first week, everything happened without much planning. Natsuki spent his days helping at home, taking care of his sister, and still working part-time. Even though he was tired, he had already gotten used to that busy routine. On one of those days, while sharing food with his sister, he got scolded because he started eating before thanking the cooks. He tried to defend himself by saying he had already thanked them, but nobody paid much attention. Later, at work, Haibara received an unexpected invitation from her friend to accompany her on a shopping trip. She asked for opinions about clothes, but in the end, she decided everything on her own anyway. Natsuki started wondering why he had been invited at all, since he clearly was not helping with anything. In the end, he only bought a plain t-shirt, which became the subject of teasing between them. While they were walking, they ended up running into Ueno together with Hikari's father, Hoshimi-ase. The atmosphere quickly became awkward. The man introduced himself politely, but he seemed to be analyzing Natsuki the entire time. During the conversation, Hikari mentioned the trip to the sea, but accidentally revealed that there would be boys in the group. Her father immediately realized that she had hidden that from him. The situation became even worse when Natsuki discovered who he really was. Sei was one of the most important names at Starflat, a giant company in the equipment industry. Natsuki immediately remembered an old job interview where he had been completely crushed by him. Back then, when he said he wanted to work to help the company grow, he received a cold response saying that employees do not join a company to do what they want, but only to follow orders. That memory came rushing back into his mind. After that, Sei made it clear that he would not allow the trip. To him, the problem was not Natsuki being there, but the fact that Hikari had lied. According to him, once someone breaks trust, it becomes difficult to believe them again. Hikari tried to respond, but ended up speechless and left. Even so, later on, Sei sought Natsuki out alone. He revealed that Hikari truly wanted to go on that trip, and that, despite everything, he wanted to see his daughter happy. During the conversation, he began talking about the past the two of them shared. They had known each other since childhood. Back then, Hikari was isolated at school, barely spoke to anyone, and ended up being seen as a difficult girl. Natsuki also had no friends, although he was more sociable than she was. Even though they were completely different, the two gradually grew close because of the books they liked to read. Over time, Hikari brought Natsuki to visit her home. That was when he realized the pressure she suffered from her family. They constantly told her that she needed to be perfect, sincere, brilliant, and lovable all the time. After that, she changed a lot at school, learning to hide her true feelings behind a smile. Sei then directly asked whether Natsuki liked her. Without hesitation, he answered yes and admitted how much he cared about Hikari. The following day, Hikari appeared in front of Natsuki with a forced smile and apologized for what had happened. She explained that she would no longer be able to go to the sea because of her father's decision. Even while trying to act normal, it was obvious that she was disappointed. During their conversation, Natsuki noticed that she was hiding a manuscript. Hikari became embarrassed when he discovered that she had been writing a story. She did not want anyone to read it because she thought it would be embarrassing to show something like that to other people. Even so, Natsuki commented that the text felt like it had been written with him in mind, as though it were an indirect way of expressing feelings and ideas. Hikari was surprised to hear that, but eventually admitted that she had written the story inspired by the love she feels for the sea. She explained that she wanted to create something that would truly satisfy her, and if she succeeded, she even intended to publish it in the future. For the first time, she clearly revealed that she dreamed of becoming a writer. Natsuki sincerely praised her work, saying that reading it had been enjoyable. That made Hikari extremely happy, far more than she was able to show. But shortly afterward, her expression began to fluctuate again. Even while smiling, she seemed burdened inside, as though she were trying to hide something the entire time. Natsuki noticed the change immediately and commented that her emotions seemed unstable. Not long after, when she received a phone call, Hikari revealed that she had left home, and at that moment, judging by the way she spoke, it seemed like she no longer knew where to go or what to do from that point on. After running away from there, Natsuki finally catches up with the girl to talk to her. As soon as the two begin talking, Hoshimiya apologizes for the sudden way he ended up getting involved in that situation. She explains that she had a serious argument with her father, and because of that, decided to leave home. Natsuki calmly listens to everything, shows understanding, and tells her not to worry so much at that moment. Not knowing exactly what to do next, Hoshimiya asks for his opinion, since the trains would soon stop running and she would have nowhere to go. After thinking for a bit, Natsuki asks if she would like to spend the night at his house, and Hoshimiya accepts the invitation. When she enters Natsuki's room, she is quite surprised, mainly because it was the first time she had ever entered a boy's room. Meanwhile, Natsuki was extremely nervous about sharing the same space with the girl he was in love with. Looking more carefully at the room, Hoshimiya quickly realizes that he truly was an unapologetic nerd. Shortly afterward, his sister suddenly appears in the room, but leaves right away so she will not disturb the two of them. While talking to her brother, she asks who the girl was and whether the two of them were dating. Natsuki immediately answers that it was not like that and explains that Hoshimiya was dealing with some personal problems. He comments that she might need to spend the night there. His sister thinks that could cause problems, especially because Hoshimiya was not even his girlfriend. Because of that, she says it would be better to tell their mother. However, Natsuki replies that he did not want to involve their mother in that situation, since explaining everything would be very complicated. So his sister decides to take responsibility and says she will help him as much as possible. Even so, Natsuki knows that the situation was still complicated, especially because their father also worked a lot and might find out everything afterward. His sister comments that she could sleep in the living room because of the noise, but she ends up getting even more embarrassed when imagining the two of them sleeping together in the same room. When Natsuki returns to the room, Hoshimiya shows happiness after learning that he managed to talk to his sister without any problems. Then he decides to get towels and some clothes for her to use. However, Hoshimiya explains that she brought extra clothes because she had originally planned to stay at a hotel before remembering Natsuki. The boy realizes that she truly needed help at that moment and understands that this was exactly why she decided to look for him. Even while nervous, he tries to control his own thoughts, since he wanted to be someone Hoshimiya could truly trust. After using the bathroom, she thanks him for the help. Natsuki asks where she would like to sleep, but Hoshimiya simply replies that she wanted to stay beside him. While they talk, she comments that her father would not stop calling her cell phone. Even so, she told her mother that she was at a friend's house, so she did not need to worry too much. Hoshimiya then begins explaining the entire situation. She says that earlier that day she arrived home later than she was allowed to. Her father became irritated and asked where she had been. When she answered that she had been working on her own novel at a cafe together with friends, he ordered her to stop writing novels immediately. Besides that, he also demanded that she distance herself from her current friends. There was also the trip she would take with her friends, something he completely disapproved of as well. Apparently, her father believed those friendships were a bad influence. He even went as far as forcing her to choose only one side. In the past, Hoshimiya believes she would have abandoned her friends without hesitation. However, now they were people who were very important to her. Even so, she still felt very afraid of her father ever since the last time she decided to confront him. When she was a child, He used to harshly scold her whenever she tried to disobey him. Because of that, she ended up spending entire years simply doing everything he told her to do. Before, Hoshimiya was a quiet, melancholic girl with little expression. However, her father hated that side of her. So she began pretending to be exactly the type of daughter he wanted. She started acting like a popular, cheerful, energetic, and cute girl, always smiling at everyone. As soon as she started acting that way, her father finally stopped getting angry with her. Then Hoshimiya shows an old photo to Natsuki and says that image represented who she truly was. According to her, the world of novels was her only place of comfort. That was why she started loving to read stories so much and began daydreaming more and more. Later that night, Hoshimiya looks at Natsuki and says that she likes him very much. Soon afterward, she explains that she likes him the same way she likes all of her other friends. She admits that, at first, she could not stand Natsuki. She thought he acted superior because he was good at both academics and sports without even seeming to try. However, everything changed after she saw Natsuki arguing with Tatsuya on the school rooftop. At that moment, she began thinking that maybe he was similar to her in some ways. Before going to sleep, Hoshimiya thanks him for all the help he had always offered. While watching Natsuki sleep, she ends up blushing in embarrassment after realizing how handsome he looked like that, still half asleep. Natsuki also comments that she looked very beautiful that night. Suddenly, his sister appears asking when the two of them plan to come downstairs for breakfast. Hoshimiya's sister jokingly says that she should not date Natsuki because she would not recommend him as a boyfriend. But Hoshimiya immediately replies that he was a good person. Even after that, Natsuki knows they still needed to find a real solution for everything. At one point, after entering the room without warning, he ends up finding Hoshimiya completely undressed. Completely panicked, he immediately apologizes for entering without knocking. However, she replies that he should not worry so much, since she had only tried to change clothes quickly while thinking he was still outside. Even so, she embarrassedly comments that he also did not need to stare that much like that. Soon afterward, Natsuki asks what she intends to do from then on. Hoshimiya replies that running away forever would solve absolutely nothing. Then Natsuki says that she needed to somehow make her father change his mind. After that, he asks if she would like to go somewhere quieter to think things through better. While riding the subway, Hoshimiya realizes that Natsuki knows quite a lot about her father. Remembering something from the past, he simply replies that he researched him extensively on the internet. Natsuki comments that if she truly intended to stand against her father, she would need something powerful enough to convince him, because an ordinary conversation would probably solve nothing. At that moment, Hoshimiya explains that it was actually her father who awakened her love for novels, since she used to borrow books from him when she was younger. Then she decides that she would show him the novel she wrote. Even knowing that she might never be forgiven for confronting him, she believes she needed to do it. Natsuki fully supports the idea and says that it sounded like a great beginning. Hoshimiya comments that if she adjusted some parts of the story, maybe her father would end up liking it. Then Natsuki promises to help her with everything within his reach, even if all he could do was read the story and give his opinions about it. Suddenly, Nanase appears there and asks why Hoshimiya did not talk to her earlier. The girl becomes quite embarrassed and admits that she always ends up depending on her for many things. Even so, she explains that this time she ended up turning to Natsuki instead. Nanase asks if she truly intends to confront her own father, and Hoshimiya replies that she does. Then Nanase invites her friend to spend a night at her house, since her mother would probably become furious if she found out she was helping someone run away from home. Later, already at home, Natsuki throws himself onto the bed and starts remembering that Hoshimiya had created a character inspired by him in her novel. Shortly afterward, she calls him and asks what he truly thinks about her. Natsuki honestly replies that he considers her a kind, cheerful, and fun girl. Then Hoshimiya starts asking several questions related to the novel, and he answers them as best as he can. At one point, Natsuki admits that he likes someone, but he does not reveal that his feelings were actually divided between two girls. He liked both of them equally and still could not choose only one. Even so, he really wanted to find out what Hoshimiya truly thought about him. The next day, when he meets Hoshimiya again, Natsuki realizes that the story she wrote was genuinely very good. However, suddenly, her father appears there and asks the two of them to return home immediately. At that moment, Natsuki holds Hoshimiya's hand to give her courage. Then he tells her father that Hoshimiya was not causing trouble for anyone. After all, helping a friend who asked for support was something completely natural. Hoshimiya then explains that she intends to return home, but only if her father agrees to listen to what she has to say first. The man recalls that his daughter's dream had always been to become a writer, but he believes she would have a much more comfortable life if she simply followed the path he chose for her. However, Hoshimiya replies that he was wrong. According to her, no one besides herself should decide how she lives her own life. Her father insists that he was only thinking about her well-being and asks her to stop being stubborn. However, Hoshimiya argues back by saying that the truly stubborn one was him, since he continued trying to control her feelings. She explains that, when he was younger, her father also lived following the wishes of her grandfather, who had already passed away. Many times he wanted to rebel, but he ended up accepting everything because he managed to become a successful person. Because of that, he wanted to guarantee that his daughter would also have a happy life. However, Hoshimiya replies that she could never be happy living only according to another person's orders. Finally, she directly asks whether her father truly considers himself happy nowadays. Maybe his company was doing very well, but it had already been a long time since he and her mother got along with each other. She continues by saying that her father may have money and success, but he ended up losing something far more important along the way: his own family. In her eyes, he also did not seem truly happy living like that. Hoshimiya then explains that she is different from him and intends to follow her own path from now on. She declares that she will personally choose the friends she wants to have as well as the dreams she wants to pursue, even if she ends up suffering because of those choices or if things do not turn out the way she hopes. She still prefers to live without regrets. Then Hoshimiya asks her father to at least try to understand her feelings a little. Soon afterward, she firmly declares that she no longer intends to live like a puppet controlled by him. After hearing all of that in silence, her father finally stands up and says that he accepts what she said. However, he also comments that he does not know whether he will truly like the novel she wrote. After he leaves, Natsuki comments that he is not sure whether Hoshimiya managed to achieve exactly what she wanted from that conversation. Even so, he realizes that she finally managed to truly confront her father for the first time. While thinking about everything that happened, Natsuki also remembers that he still has not completely forgiven her father for rejecting him during the final interview. The story goes back to the past, right when Natsuki was about to experience his first summer vacation. That time perfectly represented how colorless his teenage years had been. After building up too many expectations and trying to completely reinvent himself when he entered high school, everything fell apart once Tatsuya drifted away from him. From that point on, he attended the club's practices in complete silence, always alone and unable to connect with anyone. He barely spoke to Uya, Riita, or Nanes. As for Hoshimiya, the girl he admired, she felt far too distant for someone like him. Sometimes he would run into Miori in the hallways, but the two of them wouldn't even exchange words or glances. Whenever he returned home, he preferred escaping reality by spending hours gaming, reading light novels, and watching anime, something that irritated his sister Namika quite a bit. Even so, he makes an important decision: to turn that dull summer into something full of life and unforgettable memories. That would become the beginning of the colorful youth he had always wanted to experience. Shortly afterward, everyone takes the subway together to their vacation destination. During the ride, Hondo catches Natsuki's attention, making him wonder if she's the type of girl who's always lost in her own thoughts. A moment later, she starts asking him all kinds of questions about himself. Without warning, Hoshimiya suddenly joins the conversation with excitement while talking about Natsuki, making everyone around them curious about why she knows so much about him. She then explains that the two of them had already spent time together before. Soon after, Hondo directly asks whether Natsuki and Yuta are dating. Both of them immediately answer no. She mentions seeing them together during the festival, which makes Natsuki ask if something happened between them that day. Both Yuta and Hoshimiya become extremely embarrassed and insist that nothing happened. The atmosphere between everyone turns awkward for a few seconds. Trying to change the subject, Natsuki asks Hondo if she plays any instruments. She says yes, and then he explains that he started playing guitar after discovering Jimi Hendrix's music in college. Even so, he admits that he eventually lost motivation because he felt like he never improved. Hondo then invites Natsuki to join the club, but he simply comments that she really knows how to be persistent. The girl is surprised to find out they both like the same type of music. Without realizing it, the two of them get so caught up in the conversation that they completely leave Yuta and Hoshimiya out of it. When they finally arrive at the beach house, everyone is amazed by the incredible ocean view from the balcony. Natsuki can't hide his surprise, since in his previous life he had to walk a long distance just to reach the beach. The moment they step onto the sand, the boys become extremely excited to see the girls in bikinis. Not long after, the girls appear, and everyone is stunned by how beautiful they look. Hondo starts touching Natsuki's arms and body, while commenting on how toned he is. Within minutes, almost everyone starts playing in the ocean, while only a few stay sitting near the water. At one point, Natsuki and Hoshimiya go into the ocean together. By accident, she brushes against him and immediately blushes in embarrassment. Right after that, she shyly grabs his arm. Still flustered, she asks what he thinks about her bikini. Natsuki honestly tells her that she looks really beautiful, which makes Hoshimiya even more embarrassed as she comments that he also looks much stronger and more athletic. After playing around for quite a while, Natsuki starts getting tired and decides to step out of the water to rest. As he approaches Hondo, he notices that she's completely focused on building a massive sandcastle. He's impressed because he has never seen anyone make such a detailed sandcastle before. Later on, everyone is exhausted and decides to rest for a while before doing something else. While looking around at the scenery, Natsuki finds himself staring at Hoshimiya as the sea breeze hits her. Even though it's such a simple moment, he becomes even more captivated by her beauty. Sometime later, part of the group heads to the market, and along the way Hondo asks Riita if he and Miori are already dating. Riita replies that they aren't yet. After returning to the house, everyone decides to have a big barbecue. While they eat together, Yuta gives Natsuki the tastiest part of the food, and he's surprised that she still remembers what he likes. Everyone compliments the food and realizes just how fun the day had been for all of them. After some time, Natsuki decides to step outside alone for a few minutes to get some fresh air. However, Hoshimiya shows up shortly afterward and asks what he's doing out there by himself. Without warning, she grabs his hand, leaving Natsuki completely nervous. After all, she was the first girl he had ever truly fallen in love with. Even though he knows he should feel happy in that moment, he suddenly remembers Yuta and starts wondering whether he really deserves to stand beside Hoshimiya like that. In the end, she realizes that maybe she's being unfair and lets go of his hand. Soon afterward, Yuta appears and says the barbecue is almost over because Tatsu can barely even move anymore. Then Hondo excitedly shows up saying that she bought fireworks for everyone to enjoy together. The group immediately gets excited. While they play with the fireworks, Hoshimiya lights one and gets startled right afterward. Luckily, she manages to grab onto Natsuki before falling. Even surrounded by everyone else, Natsuki can't take his eyes off her. Then Yuta approaches him and mentions that his birthday is coming up. Natsuki is surprised that she remembers the date. Yuta replies that it would be impossible to forget the birthday of the person she likes. She then asks what he would like as a present. However, Natsuki can't think of anything, so she decides that she'll choose something herself, something that suits him. Later that night, everyone decides to go to sleep. As he closes his eyes, Natsuki realizes that he had always dreamed of experiencing a summer vacation as special as this one. Before going back in time, he was someone who easily pushed people away. He wasn't exactly hated, but he was never truly loved either. Even so, he doesn't blame anyone, because back then he couldn't even understand how others saw him. Because of that, he decided to change not only his appearance, but also the kind of person he used to be. Now, that colorful youth finally seemed close to becoming reality. Even so, he still didn't know exactly what he was supposed to do from that point forward. The next morning, while walking along the still nearly empty beach, Natsuki finds Hashimiya quietly staring out at the ocean. The breeze gently sways her hair as she stands before the waves, completely absorbed in the peaceful scenery. Curious, she asks why he woke up so early. Natsuki replies that he simply couldn't sleep that night, and after spending hours trying to fall asleep, he eventually gave up and decided to go for a walk. Hashimiya then says that she likes looking at the ocean because she feels like she could spend hours staring at that endless view without getting tired of it. To her, there are emotions that can only truly be understood when experienced in person, not just described through words. After that, she mentions that she plans to change a few things in the romance story she's writing, because she realized there are still certain emotions she hasn't been able to convey sincerely enough. Natsuki simply tells her that she's amazing, because while he looks at the scenery and only thinks about how beautiful and calm everything seems, Hashimiya is able to see much deeper emotions hidden within it. Hearing that, she quietly smiles while keeping her eyes fixed on the horizon. At that moment, Natsuki suddenly remembers the movie he had been watching shortly before going back to the past. The scenes slowly begin resurfacing in his mind, along with a strange feeling that this summer was passing by far too quickly. Soon after, he asks Hashimiya if there's anything he can help her with from now on. She replies that she never would have made it this far without his help. Then, looking back out at the ocean, she firmly says that she has no intention of giving up no matter what happens. At that moment, Natsuki realizes that he also can't keep running away from everything the way he used to. For the first time in a long while, he feels like he needs to face his own regrets and move forward without looking back. As the days passed, that miraculous summer finally came to an end, and September quietly began. Before that, on August 28th, Yuta gave Natsuki the birthday present she had promised him, genuinely making him happy. On top of that, Hashimiya wrote a short story especially for him, pouring into it feelings she had never been able to express directly. Afterward, everyone gradually returned to their normal routines, as if that summer had only been a fleeting dream. However, not long later, Hondo invites Natsuki to form a band with her, confidently declaring that together they would still change the world through music. The scene begins with Hikari reflecting on her feelings alone. Without beating around the bush, she admits to herself that she's in love with Natsu. He was the first person she ever truly fell for, and she dreams of spending more time with him, going on dates, sharing special moments, and building a closer relationship together. However, there's a problem. She's not the only girl interested in him. Yuta likes Natsu too. Hikari cares about her friend, but she's decided she won't give him up or hide her feelings any longer. Determined, she decides to confess her feelings to Yuta, believing it's the best way to ensure Natsu stays by her side. After this brief recap of previous events, we return to the present. Natsu is talking with Seri, who suggests something quite ambitious, forming a band and revolutionizing the music scene. Curiously, instead of seeing Natsu's immediate response, the story shifts direction. We jump to after the vacation break. Natsu is at work when he decides to talk to a coworker he's seen for months but has barely spoken to. The guy's name is Shinora, though his friends just call him Shino. The funny thing is that he seems genuinely happy to finally get some attention. During their conversation, they discover that Shino attends the same school and is even in the same grade as them. That explains why he always seemed invisible. It was almost as if he was there without really being part of what was happening. Natsu thinks he's a nice guy, which reminds him of his own past life when he acted much the same way. Shortly afterward, he receives a message from Yuta asking if he'll be free after work. Since he has no other plans, he agrees to meet her. When he arrives, he notices that Miori and Siri are there as well. The three girls decide to go to karaoke together. Siri's real goal is to find out how well Natsu sings. She wants to see if he has enough talent to join the band. When it's his turn, he starts singing, though the scene doesn't show his performance. Afterward, Yuta asks Siri what she thinks. Siri replies that she likes Natsu. The statement leaves everyone stunned for a few seconds until she clarifies that she was talking about his voice. The atmosphere immediately lightened. Everyone seems relieved, especially Yuta, who internally celebrates the fact that another rival interested in Natsu hasn't appeared. As they leave the karaoke place and head toward the subway, Yuta takes the opportunity to talk with Natsu. She asks whether her feelings for him make him uncomfortable and tells him to be honest. Even though she likes him, she doesn't want to interfere with his happiness or cause problems in his life. Her concern shows just how considerate she is. Later at school, Natsu is listening to music when he ends up at the music room. There, he finds Sari playing the lyre by herself. Impressed, he compliments her skill and apologizes for interrupting. Since he has already broken the silence, he decides to stay for a few minutes and talk with her. Natsu asks why she usually plays alone. Sari explains that she's no longer involved with her former band because the other members lost their motivation. Since she still takes music seriously, she ended up being left behind. He tells her he likes the way she plays. In her usual peculiar manner, Sari asks if that's supposed to be some kind of suspicious pickup line. Natsu quickly clarifies that he was only talking about her music and asks how she learned to play. Sari explains that her father used to be in a band and kept various instruments at home. That's how she started practicing. At first, she failed countless times and even quit repeatedly, but she loved it so much that she always came back to it. Natsu understands perfectly since he's gone through similar experiences. He then hands her his own guitar so she can try it out. Natsu plays an old song he knows, but Sari quickly notices several incorrect chords and corrects him. He admits it's been a long time since he last played and that he's just trying to get back into practice. During their conversation, Natsu notices something rare. Sari is smiling. It's the first time he's ever seen her like that. She then reveals that she loves making music because it's the best way she has found to express her feelings. At that moment, the door to the room opens. A guy named Iguano Esperano appears. His name immediately stands out, but he seems more concerned about something else. When he sees the two of them together, he instantly assumes he has interrupted a romantic moment. Without waiting for an explanation, he decides to leave. Natsu asks whether Sari plans to clear up the misunderstanding. She replies that she doesn't see any need to since it doesn't really bother her. Shortly afterward, Sari once again proposes that they form a band. Natsu asks why she chose him. Sari answers that she likes his voice and believes he's the ideal person to sing her song. At first, Natsu tries to refuse. He points out that he already has to deal with school, work, and all the chaos caused by the girls around him. However, he soon realizes he's being hypocritical. During his past life, he always dreamed of being in a band, but never received a real opportunity. If he truly wants to live the youth he always imagined, he needs to take this chance, so he accepts. Now another challenge appears, finding more members. They already have Sari as the lead guitarist and Natsu as both the vocalist and rhythm guitarist. All they need now are a drummer and a bassist. Sari immediately suggests Iguano for drum. The problem is that he's already turned them down several times. Even so, she plans to try again, believing Natsu's presence might convince him. The task of finding a bassist falls to Natsu. Before anything else, though, he needs to get a guitar. The two visit a music store, and Natsu buys a Fender Stratocaster identical to the one he owned in his past life. Along with it, he purchases an amplifier, a pedal, cables, and a tuner. With that, he has practically everything he needs to get started. When he arrives home carrying all the equipment, Namaka finds the situation strange. After all, she had only asked him to buy a Coke for dinner. After that, he heads upstairs to his room and starts practicing. As he plays, he remembers how important music was during the loneliest moments of his past life. Rock music was always there when he had almost no one by his side. However, after only a few minutes of practice, he decides to call it a day. At that moment, he receives a call from Hikari. She asks what he's doing, and Natsu tells her he's learning guitar because he joined a rock band. Even though he talks about it as if it's something simple, he knows it will require a lot of effort. Hikari is surprised by the news and asks where the idea came from. Natsu explains that it all started because of Sari. She then asks what his role in the band will be. Natsu admits that he still doesn't know exactly how everything will be organized and hopes it all works out. The conversation continues, and Hikari tells him that she trusts him a lot, even though they haven't known each other for very long. Natsu is somewhat moved by that display of trust, but he thanks her for the support. Afterward, he changes the subject and asks about the new novel she's writing. Hikari replies that she has already started the project and has even submitted it to a contest. Natsu gets excited and says he's looking forward to reading it. The next day at school, Seri and Natsu approach Iguano to talk about the band. Iguano isn't thrilled with the idea of Seri not being the vocalist, but she insists that Natsu sings better and that her songs don't necessarily need to be performed by her. Later, the three of them head to a room with a drum set. Even though they have little experience playing together and it's not clear what song they're performing, they decide to give it a try. Natsu still doesn't have complete control of the instrument, but somehow they manage to produce something that already sounds like music. In the end, everyone agrees that he really is a great singer. The problem is the drums, since his technique still leaves a lot to be desired. Even so, no one sees that as a permanent obstacle. With practice and dedication, he can improve significantly. More importantly, the group clearly has the potential to function as a real band. After hearing this, Wano steps away and walks over to a window. As he looks at the scenery outside, he reflects on his future. After thinking for a few moments, he agrees to join the band, but on one condition: he'll stay for only 1 year. Once that time is up, he plans to leave the group. The reason has to do with his family. Iguano's parents are doctors and expect him to follow the exact same path. As a result, he believes he'll need to devote all of his time to studying. According to Iguano himself, he doesn't have the ability to balance a medical career and a band at the same time. The biggest problem is that music is what he truly loved. That's why he always avoided accepting Seri's invitation. He enjoys the songs they create together and knows that if he officially starts playing in a band with her, he'll have a hard time walking away later. They're very specific concerns, the kind that few people can fully understand. Still, for Iguano, it's an important decision. Trying to find a solution, Seri suggests a compromise. The band will stay together only until the school cultural festival. Over the next month and a half, everyone will give their all during rehearsals. After the festival performance, the band will officially disband. Even after hearing the proposal, Iguano remains puzzled. He asks why Seri is so determined to have him join. After all, she's talented and could probably find another drummer without much difficulty. Seri answers simply and honestly. She says she likes the way he plays and wants to make music specifically with him and Natsu. She isn't interested in replacing him with someone else. After hearing that, Iguano changes his mind. Instead of joining only until the festival, he decides to become a real member of the band. With that settled, all that's left is finding a bassist. However, there's another complication. Since their goal is to perform at the school festival, the new member must also attend the same school. That greatly limits their options. As Natsu tries to think of a solution, he starts wondering where they could find someone who fits those requirements. At that exact moment, Shino appears. The timing couldn't be more convenient. Shino shows up complaining about how exhausting it is to work in order to earn money and continue investing in his career as a bassist. At the same time, he makes it clear how much he loves playing bass. For him, music is an essential part of life. Natsu practically finds the answer to all his problems at once. Without wasting any time, he contacts Seri and arranges a meeting with Shino at a cafe. During the meeting, they explain that they're looking for a bassist who attends the same school and isn't part of any band. Shino fits that description perfectly. He explains that he never managed to play in a group because he ended up becoming something of an outcast in the music club. Natsu even comments that he may have seen him there a few times, but admits he never really got to know him. Shino then jokes that he's always been just a background character, the kind who stays in the back of scenes without drawing attention. According to him, that fits the role of a bassist perfectly. Continuing the conversation, he reveals that he's always been extremely shy. Joining the music club alone took a lot of courage. Even so, he never managed to build close friendships or gather people to form a band. Realizing this, Natsu and Seri make their official offer. They want Shino to become the band's bassist and take part in the festival performance. His first answer is no. Shino insists that he isn't skilled enough to play alongside them, and believes he'd end up causing more problems than helping. The other two don't accept that excuse so easily. They tell him that putting himself down won't solve anything, and that he should at least give himself a chance. If he never tries, he'll never find out what he's truly capable of. Their persistence eventually pays off. After a long conversation, Shino finally agrees to join the band. The following day, the members gather for the group's first performance. During the ending credits, we see everyone together on stage. Between songs and performances, Natsu clearly shows how much he enjoys singing and having fun during the show, jumping around the stage while making the most of every second of that moment. On August 31st, the day before classes resumed, Yuta and Hikari spent the day together. They went shopping, watched a movie, and even stopped by Starbucks. To anyone watching from the outside, they looked like close friends, even though both knew there was a silent rivalry between them. Later, they decided to relax at a park while watching some kids play in the mud. That was when Hikari chose to be honest. She admitted that she liked Natsuki and apologized, knowing he had feelings for Yuta. But that didn't change how she felt. Yuta took the confession maturely. She explained that no one chooses who they fall in love with. Things just happen. At the same time, she made it clear that she had no intention of giving up and asked Hikari not to set aside her feelings out of consideration for her. The two agreed to honestly compete for God's favorite boy's heart and promised to do their best. Despite the romantic rivalry, they didn't turn it into a battle. They remained friends regardless of who eventually won Natsuki over. Meanwhile, the NPC comments that he's trying not to sound so negative. Seri replies that she doesn't like that way of thinking. According to her, the best thing to do is stop limiting yourself and simply give it your all. She then repeats the same advice to the iguana. Once the conversation ends, they return to practice. Natsuki asks what exactly is wrong and what he keeps doing incorrectly. Seri tells him to just keep trying and not lose motivation. In her opinion, he's still at such a basic level that there's no point in seriously criticizing him yet. It's obvious that he's currently the weakest member of the band and far from the progress he showed at the end of the previous episode. Right now, he's basically just making noise. After they finish another song, Seri comments that he's working really hard. Natsuki realizes she's being too nice. Seri then explains that effort alone isn't enough. He needs to learn how to sing and play at the same time, something he's only just started practicing. Because of that, it's natural that he can't do everything properly right away. Natsuki suggests that she take over as vocalist, but Seri immediately refuses. According to her, he's the one who needs to sing. After all, he's the protagonist of the story. Yano adds that if he gives up on singing, he'll just end up being a bad guitarist. Thinking about it, that might actually be an improvement. After practice, the group heads to a vending machine to buy drinks. Shino encourages Natsuki to keep working hard and reminds him that they still need to discuss the band's name later. Perry suggests calling it My Band, an idea so bad that everyone hopes it gets abandoned before becoming official. At that moment, Yuta shows up. She came for basketball practice because the upperclassmen are about to graduate, and this is her chance to earn a starting spot before Miori surpasses her. Natsu encourages her friend to give it everything she's got and not let that old lady in flip-flops get ahead of her. As if summoned by the conversation, the old lady in flip-flops herself appears moments later to find out what they were saying about her. Natsuki comments that he didn't expect to see her there. Miori explains that since she isn't participating in the optional practices, she decided to start putting in more effort. After all, like any anime character, she also wants to improve. As they walk home, Seri asks Shino what his favorite band is. He responds with a joke so strange that it's impossible to take seriously. Seri thinks it's radical and tries to celebrate with a high five. The problem is that Shino has no idea how to return it. Miori decides to help him, and the boy turns completely red because apparently he's never been touched like that before. Meanwhile, in the background, Yuta talks with Natsuki. She asks how things are going with the band. He replies that the other three members are doing great, but he still feels more like dead weight. Yuta can't believe it. She's heard him sing before and doesn't think it's possible that he's as bad as he claimed. Natsuki replies that singing at karaoke is completely different from singing while playing an instrument. The coordination required is much more difficult. Curious, Yuta asks why he's trying so hard. She knows he likes music, but feels there's something more behind his dedication. Natsuki admits that he has several reasons. He likes playing, always dreamed of being in a band, and would also like to avoid gaining weight. However, none of those reasons seem significant enough to make him proud. Because of that, he ends up confessing that he wants to impress someone. According to him, that's probably the most common motivation among high school students who decide to start a band. Yuta asks him not to overdo it and to take care of himself. Natsuki promises that he'll be careful. When they reach an intersection, Yuta says she'll be heading a different way. Before leaving, she promises that she'll be in the front row when it's time for the performance, then she runs off. The situation would seem strange to any observer, since everyone knows she rode her bike to school. However, Natsuki understands perfectly. She's just going to pick up her bike and only pretended to walk with him for a few extra minutes. The next day, rehearsals continue. The group is already showing some improvement. Natsuki feels like he's finally finding his rhythm and declares that he's ready to work on the next song, which was also composed by him. Even so, he reminds the others that this is a band and that he's willing to listen to suggestions. That doesn't mean, of course, that he'll accept them. Yuo replies that he joined specifically to play Natsuki's song, so he doesn't see any problem with that. Shino, meanwhile, says he's basically an NPC, so his opinion doesn't carry much weight. Natsuki is the only one who raises a valid concern. If they plan to perform at the school festival, it might be difficult to attract attention using only songs that nobody knows. That's because she has trouble putting her feelings into words. For her, it's much easier to express herself through music. For that reason, she asks Natsuki to write the lyrics. Besides being the protagonist, he might be better suited to develop the theme. After all, the song revolves around the ideas of the past and regret. Natsuki takes the assignment home, but things don't go as planned. None of his ideas seem to work. At that moment, he receives a message from Hikari. She asks if he's free and suggests that he come check out her new job. Natsuki says yes and takes the opportunity to mention that he'd like to talk to her about something as well. Hikari then suggests that they meet up for cupcakes. When they meet, Natsuki comments on how pretty she looks. Hikari makes a disappointed face. That wasn't exactly what she wanted to hear. According to her, she would have preferred something like, "You're amazing, I love you." The two head into the cafe, and Natsuki asks for help writing song lyrics. Since Hikari writes novels, he thinks she might be able to offer some useful advice. She agrees to try, but makes it clear that she can't promise miracles. After reviewing the material, Hikari concludes that the lyrics are a little bland. They say a lot of things, but they fail to convey any real emotion. According to her, the song talks about regret and sadness, but never clearly explains what the person regrets or why it matters. To be honest, she admits that she couldn't even bring herself to care about the content. That's not an exaggeration. That's exactly what she said. Hikari goes on to explain that the lyrics create a dark and melancholic atmosphere. In her opinion, that doesn't suit Natsuki. What makes him interesting is the fact that he's always trying to change and move forward. Hikarin explains that she believes Natsuki's songs should convey the same message that he represents to her. She also promises to keep supporting his growth, just as he helped her in the past. After an emotional conversation about how much Natsuki has changed over the years, he ends up crying. The next day, Natsuki presents the band's second song, titled Monochrome, and the group announces that it's practically finished. They then choose the band's official name, MH Leftovers or MV, a reference to the fact that almost all of the members are leftovers from the old music club. With 2 songs completed, the need for a third one arises. Since nobody has any ideas, Natsuki once again takes responsibility for writing the lyrics. However, he's completely stuck because he can't stop thinking about his confusing feelings, especially when it comes to Yuta. Even after several days, he's still unable to decide what he truly feels or wants to express. Concerned about the approaching deadline, Hikari confronts him on the school rooftop and criticizes his lack of progress. Natsuki admits that his lyrics are full of doubts and uncertainties, but he uses the conversation as an opportunity to encourage her not to abandon her own way of expressing herself and to keep moving forward without being afraid to step outside her comfort zone. Her words inspire Natsuki. He revises the lyrics, makes a few changes, and finally feels satisfied with the result. Excited, He rushes off to show the new version to the other band members. Later, Hikari becomes thrilled at the thought that the songs might have been inspired by her.
I heard